videos to make. I'm face to face, and my face is here because I have two monitors, so it's weird because I'm like staring at myself trying to make sure, but the camera's here. It's gonna be hard to focus on the two things at once, staring at here, making sure that everything is recording right, but also trying to stare at the camera when it would have been easier to just stare at this monitor. Hang on, I can fix that. There we go. Just drag this monitor over to here. That works. So I don't typically do a lot of face-to-face videos with you guys, so this one's a little bit weirder of a setting for me. And if you know kind of the content setup I had, where I kind of did like a little bit of an update and talked about what I'm going to be doing, um, you guys, oh, whoopsies, hang on too. Let me fix you real quick. Haha, my mic quality was down, so I probably just got really loud. Whoopsies, I forgot to turn my gain up. Essentially, you can also see the dog kind of popping up here with her cone. My dog just had surgery, so she's down here in the basement with me. Prayers for Ginger, pretty please. This is her second surgery. She's recovering from knee surgery. Boston Terriers, I guess, have bad knees. I'm gonna try to keep this first part short and sweet, and essentially talk about, we're gonna go back into the loss phase. I'm gonna give you guys a quick update, stuff that's coming up. We're gonna go into Call of Duty then, and I'm going to talk to you guys while I play. Essentially, you guys know I had video stuff planned. I had literally recorded a whole video of talking about religion stuff and my faith with God, and I said I was going to do that, and I did do it. However, life kind of took change of plans. I was gonna get some more Call of Duty content recorded for you guys, so just sit down and play Call of Duty for a while and record, and just get clips of shit, pretty much. And then edit all that together. In the process of trying to get all the footage and content that I needed edited together was going well. Until, it was about like, 3 weeks since my last upload, besides the video that I did recently, the RPG trolling. If you haven't seen that, go check that one out. However, something really unfortunate happened to me and to a lot of people, especially at my work and the family of this fellow that I was really fond of. About almost 3 weeks ago Wednesday, my boss that I very fondly looked up to and kind of admired in a little weird way passed away from leukemia. That was a really rough moment for me. If people here follow me on Twitch, you'll know that when I was streaming that day, I did do a stream. I just needed to do something because after that, it was just like the idle hands thing. I couldn't get myself to function. I just needed to do something. So I just did a live stream, which I was going to do anyways, but I was heartbroken over this news. My boss actually was a really good man. A lot of people, will say that about people. They're a really good person, but my boss paid respects to my dad in such a way. So one, his family runs the business pretty much that I work at, and they treat their employees really well. When my dad was going through cancer, it got to the point where, because my dad wasn't in the dealership as much, they weren't able to keep him on their insurance policy, and they extended his time with them and pretty much was like, we can get you covered for this amount of time, but this amount of time is just buying you time to get yourself set up. And it was like 3 months that they gave us, essentially, which was more than what they should have. And they already had us on their insurance policy longer than they were supposed to. They did this because they knew my dad. They knew how much my dad worked his ass off for them and how good my dad was at his job. They valued him as a member of that family. He worked there for almost 30 years. He was there for like 25 years. And they fought so hard with my dad. If there is a family out there that fought really hard, it was that family. They fought with my dad till the end. And when it came time for my dad's funeral, me and mom were trying to get everything sorted out, and we were going through pallbearers, and of course the first picks were like me and my brother. Um, that was an important one for not only mom. Mom gave me the choice, and that was a really important thing for me too. Um, I wanted to walk my dad out as a final goodbye, anyways. We were not expecting to lose my dad when we did. We were not expecting to lose my boss when we did. My boss was also one of my dad's pallbearers. Um, when my mom asked him, me and mom were trying to figure it out. We had a bunch of my dad's brothers, pretty much set to be, and we were trying to find one more. And me and mom both looked at each other, and when she gave me the suggestion, and it was an easy yes that we wanted him to be a part of that. I thought that was a really good way of bringing that, because both of them respected each other so much. Um, my boss was 50 when he passed, and my dad was 55. My dad would have turned 57 this year, so my dad had 7 years on him. It's just incredible to like see how people, one, change your life, but also two, how young they can go. It kind of gives you a respect because you don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. Um, my boss could not see any other way to honor my dad. He took it on, and I know that's a heartbreaking moment for these people. Finally having to say goodbye to someone that you love. Um, but it's such a proud moment too, that you were thought of in that person's life in such a way that the family wanted you to walk them out. Um, we were not expecting his leukemia diagnosis. It just out of the blue. This wasn't a man that you seen drink or anything. But his leukemia diagnosis just kind of popped in, and that moment was a really heartbreaking one for me. Losing him was a really heartbreaking one for me, and it set back a lot of plans and stuff. I have videos uploaded, and it pretty much got to the point where I was playing Call of Duty on stream without the intention of getting a video in, and I started doing RPGs, and I got the idea of creating a loadout kit with RPGs. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do a video. Little out of schedule, and I figured I'd come in and talk. I'm hoping to get the religious video up and talk about that one, but it's just kind of figuring it out. Um, my boss did one more important thing for me, particular for me. So keep in mind, Dad worked there for 25 years. I'm going on 19. I'm going on 20. I'm 19 going on 20. And my boss, when my dad passed away, during his luncheon, went up to my mom and told her, whenever I need a job, if I'm looking for a job, um, go to him and he'll find a spot for me. Didn't give me an interview at all. Didn't ask for a resume. I sent him a text and I was like, hey, it's Xander. Mom told me that you offered me a job the day of my dad's funeral, and I'm very interested in that and currently looking for one. All my current school stuff has ended, and there's nothing really going on till the end of the school year. I can start Monday, pretty much. And he was like, yeah, come in and fill out paperwork on Friday. I sent him a text on Wednesday. Next day, I did my Eagle Scout Board of Review. I was so happy about that. That went well, and that was also a really stressful moment. Those are like those moments that you want like your parent and relative to be there for you. And not having dad there after he worked his fucking ass off to get me there, and planning stuff with him. And I mean, we planned my whole Eagle Scout project together, so part of it feels really wrong that we planned this together and he never actually got to put his hands on it and be a part of it. But did my Eagle board of review the next day, went and filled out paperwork for my job. Boss took me in. Started working on Monday right after. That was the week of Thanksgiving too. And that was over a year ago. This November will be 2 years I've worked at the dealership. Fucking crazy. But you know, now that he's gone, it feels like there's this, debt that's over my head that I'll never pay off. So, coming into this, I felt like an appropriate video title today would be talking about how to say goodbye to people you're not ready to say goodbye to yet. And I didn't see a better way to do this video than to play some Call of Duty with you guys while I talk, but 2, do it in a zombies lobby. We're going to play some Call of Duty Zombies. I'm going to talk with you guys. We're going to have some fun. This should be a very interesting video. To start off, I want to talk about, one, having to say goodbye to someone that we love very dearly, or someone that's close to us. This person was someone who heavily impacted the place I worked at. One, he was the owner's son. Excuse me, I'm burping. But it was really rough to say goodbye to him. One, we're not expecting to have to say goodbye to him, and it was something that wasn't planning on coming up. And it was really interesting because he went April 9th. He went on the 9th, which is funny because my dad went May 10th. That whole day my mom was having a feeling, like this really off feeling, and it was because she thought that it was the 10th, and she was like, it's the month before my husband's passing, before the 2-year mark of my husband's passing. That's probably it. And that wasn't it. She couldn't shake the feeling. When she looked at the clock, she realized that it was the 9th. So it was a really interesting moment for her, because she was kind of lost on it. She didn't know what could have been wrong, what the case could have been, and eventually we figured it out. It was a heartbreaking moment for me and her both. And Lily stayed the night that day. I don't know if I would have ever gotten through it without her.
You're welcome to shut up and help clear the way.
I mean, this is someone, like I said, that did a lot for me, and put a lot into me, knowing that I was worth it, knowing my family, and one, watching me grow up my whole life. It was one, kind of a risk, because it's just welcoming someone on, no interview, no anything, just putting me in and getting me started as soon as they physically could. And those, how many people do that, So he did a lot for me right off the bat. And this is someone that, like I said, he was 50 when he passed away, and he didn't look 50. He did not look 50 at all. I thought he was in his late 30s, early 40s, always, whenever I looked at him. And the interesting thing about leukemia, and I'm sure it's not just the leukemia, I'm sure it was also a mix of the chemotherapy drugs that he was on for a while and all that. But he looked old. And that was the only way I could describe it. He didn't look 50. He looked like he was in his 70s to 80s. And that's kind of a scary thing to think about when you're staring at someone and you can recognize their face, but they don't look the same. They're not the person that you knew. That is a really scary thought to think about, and it was a really rough one for me to go through.
Sam said there were unique elements that could only be harvested here. I'd appreciate a
And
few
you know,
more
it still
fucking
feels like we
details.
didn't say goodbye to them.
I do not want to think
And
he's keeping
what I really want to talk to you guys about is how do you say goodbye to someone that you're not ready to say goodbye to yet? Genuinely, I don't think we really ever do say goodbye to that person. I think that they're a part of us in many different ways. A lot of you guys know I'm a very strong person of faith. It's someone who kind of rescued me recently and kind of reminded me how powerful faith can be if you truly believe in God. And if you don't, that is your choice. I'm not going to disrespect you or shame you on it. Everyone has had their own personal experiences that has brought them to the point where they choose to believe or not. And I'm not going to force that on you. But I will talk about my experiences with that. So if you don't want to be a part of that, you don't want to listen to this little rant, you could skip ahead and continue to me talking about saying goodbye. But I believe from my faith that when we say goodbye to people, they're not truly saying goodbye, that they're still going to be a part of our lives in such incredible ways until we pass on and go over to the next. Which I know that is a really interesting statement to kind of make. But, you know, I've lived by faith for many a years. And my dad was really strong in faith, and his faith in the hospital was something that kept him going. You know, my dad never left the hospital. My dad passed away in the hospital. He went in first thing in the morning at midnight. 12 a.m. He goes into the hospital. And it's just a really crazy thing to kind of like go through, in a sense. And it's weird, you know, when you have plans with this person and you think that everything's gonna go well and then it doesn't. It's stressful, it's heartbreaking, it's confusing, and you know, you're thinking things should look up, you know, especially too, I was 17 when I lost my dad, and I was going into my senior year. I wasn't even in my senior year yet, so my dad never got to watch me graduate high school, never got to watch me start college, never got to watch me start my job, never got to witness me get my Eagle Scout. And to me, it's heartbreaking, because all these moments that I really wanted my dad to be there for, you know, he wasn't able to. And having to say goodbye to him, you know, in a really weird time, it's, you know, I was going on 18, and it's like, I'm getting a call from Hot Topic. I'm getting a call from Hot Topic. Sorry, Hot Topic, I'm gonna turn you down there. But, I'll send them to voicemail and see if they pop in. Give me a voicemail. But, fucking, you know, it's weird, you know, because you never, like I keep saying, you never expect to say goodbye to them, but also at the time you say goodbye to them it's really a confusing time, and it's such an awkward time to, one, for me to lose my dad at, two, and it was a really soon time, you know, 50, I mean, he was 50. My dad, or not 50, my boss was 50. My dad was 55. Either way, both of those are too young. you know?
Himself the commute.
Maybe, Peck.
And,
Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's hiding. Either way, I'm finding
I don't know.
out.
It's rough. It's heartbreaking. And since he passed away, you know, my dad passed away 8 hours after he went into the hospital, almost 9. He went in at 12 and, he went to where I believe is heaven at 8 in the morning, almost 9, you know? And saying goodbye to him, you know, that's heartbreaking. I was staring over, you know, his body, and I'm looking at him, and it's rough. And you know, ever since then, you know, you kind of get. I'm a person that is afraid of death, not because of what's going to come after. It is nothing to do with faith. I strongly believe in heaven, and I know that when I die, I'm going to see my dad again, whenever that time comes. And you know, knock on wood, you never know what happens. Hopefully not for years and years and years. And when I go back, I'm going to see both of them, and I'm going to give my dad the biggest hug I have ever given him. Because I remember hugging him when I left the hospital and telling him that I love him at 4 in the morning, and never getting to tell him that again. Never getting to have another conversation with him again. Never getting to just hear his voice or see his smile unless it's in videos. And I dream about him a lot too, and I'll hear his voice and I'll see his face. And a lot of times he just looks at me and he smiles, and I feel like that's him coming to visit me. But, you know, it's really weird too, with my dog's surgery. It's a $2,000 surgery. And my dad had this check that he never cashed, and it was really crazy because it was for $1,000, and that covers half of my dog's surgery. And it was at a really weird time too, because we just went through 1 round of surgery already with her because of her knee, her other knee, and we didn't realize that both knees were popped and out of place. Just one knee, it was worse. So, you know, that was like one of those moments where we were having a panic, and the same day Mom gets a call from the bank saying, hey, there's this check in your husband's name that he never cashed and that he never deposited. We just had $1,000 floating around, and essentially we went through the whole shebang to get that into our hands. And that was, one, an interesting time, but 2, it was weird. It was like him watching over us, you know, especially like at this time, you know, I mean, it being almost 2 years since he passed away, and this money just kind of falling into our laps at this really dire moment. You can't explain it. You really can't. You know, some people say coincidence, and I know it's him watching over us. I genuinely, the true answer, you know, when I say you don't really say goodbye, I don't really truly believe we say goodbye to these people. Maybe we say goodbye to them, but they never really say goodbye to us, because they always find a way to stick around in our lives even after they pass, in really, really weird and unique ways. And it's unexplainable. It really is. But to me, it's a deep love is the only way I can describe it. You know, the fact that they still love us enough to stick around and hang out with us and watch over us and show us how we need to do it. And you know what? Let us fuck up for ourselves too from time to time. I know Dad has let me fuck up myself plenty when he was in my life and when he wasn't. And he taught me really great lessons in doing so. And I don't know. It's rough because, you know, in a sense, we say goodbye. We don't see this person. We don't get to talk to them until we see them again. But, you know, when you think about it, they never really do leave us. And they're constantly around us. In many different ways, through how we talk, how we act, how we say, how we do. You know, I find that a lot too, where after my dad passed, I used to hate looking in the mirror, and sometimes even hate seeing my brother, because I would see, no offense to my brother, I love him to death. No matter what arguments we've gone through, and, you know, how many challenges me and him have faced, and our relationship, you know, you know, my brother has always been one of my heroes, and, you know, every time I look in the mirror, I can see my dad's face, and every time that I see him, I see my dad's face. To me, that's amazing. That's fucking awesome. You know, it's like we never did say goodbye. You know? And I mean, like I said, do we ever really truly say goodbye? And I don't think so. Because apparently they're still fucking sticking around and leaving us money when shit gets really rough. But, no, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it or even really talk about it because it's really weird and unusual, you know? Saying goodbye is weird, and also, you know, I've talked about this too. To me, part of it feels like I never left the hospital. Interesting story. I still feel like I'm in that hospital room I was at when the doctor told me about my dad passing away. And that was, you know, the hardest moment of my life besides my dad's actual funeral, you know, the realizing this is real. And even now, I don't feel like it's real. You know, I feel like that day has never actually come, but I also feel like I have never, you know, personally left the hospital room. You know, I feel like personally I'm still there and still...
I think I'm onto something here.
I got a little spooked. But I'm still in that hospital room where they told me and that I never left. And, you know I go to sleep and I wake up in my bed every day. Sometimes every day. Sometimes I'm at a different person's house just hanging out with them. But, you know, it feels like when I wake up, I'm still in the hospital. And it feels, too, like this is a nightmare. That someday, I'm gonna wake up from this very, very, very bad dream. And, you know, it's one of those, like, really awkward moments and shit. Because it's... Or not awkward, but I guess heartbreaking, you know? Because it's tough. You know, I mean, you know, losing a parent's hard. Losing a parent right before you're 18 is fucking difficult. And also, losing a parent while you're trying to figure out all your shit is just devastating and heartbreaking and crushing and stressful and a pain in the ass.
I'm pretty sure we could all
I can tell you that easily. But, it's just weird. It's not just weird, you know, it is weird. You don't feel the same, everything kind of feels off. And, everything is kind of like in a whole new perspective and point of view. You know, your whole life has suddenly changed and is going to keep changing. But I feel like we never actually say goodbye. You know, we know this person's gone, we cry. I just cried and broke upstairs trying to figure out how I was going to do this video and everything that I wanted to say. But it feels like we never really do actually say goodbye to that person because they're kind of lingering around in different ways. I guess I'm sorry to the people that I said skip ahead to the video because I guess this is all just a religious video and saying goodbye and my perspective on saying goodbye. It's tough. That's the only thing I could say about it, is that truly it's tough. It's the hardest thing we'll ever go through. It's the hardest bit of life that we'll go through, no matter at what point we go through it. It's one of those things that kind of happens, you know, saying goodbye. But as I said, I don't think we truly say goodbye. And I mean, if you get a moment, think about it. Think about like those really weird moments and then think, could that be this loved one of mine that passed away? And then think too, maybe about kind of the stuff that they do for you. And see if it all relates and correlates and stacks on top of each other. I will say this, I will give out a shout out to someone here. I'm going to link him in the, I'm going to add him in my description. But there's this dude out there on YouTube, and I've talked about him before. His name's DeMarcus. And he talks a lot about God. And he stumbled upon my For You page in a time when I was really fearful. You know, as I said earlier, I'm afraid of death, but not my faith of what comes beyond. You know, like I said, I strongly believe I'm going to see my dad again. And there's my brother calling me. But it's the how are the people that I'm going to leave behind going to handle it. Knowing how I'm handling it now, knowing what's going on in my life, and all this other difficult shit going on. How are they going to handle it when I'm gone? How is, you know, my wife going to handle that when I'm gone? My kids going to handle that when I'm gone? My friends going to handle that when I'm gone? That's the scary thought. That's knowing how many times I've thought about ending it when my dad passed, and how many times that, you know, my amazing, incredible girlfriend has given me a reason to live. One, I can't be more thankful for her, but I also don't want to know what that's going to be like for my kids. I'm definitely afraid of what's going to come up in life, because I'm at very high cancer risk. And it's that one is stressful to me as all hell. It's a little bit of a scary thought for sorry, looking at my brother's text. It's one of those where, you know, I'm worried about Lily and worried about, because I want to have kids and Lily wants to have kids, and you know, it's one of those things where we kind of planned out our future, and it's like, what if they're in one of the same situations as I was, and that history just repeats itself? You know, I mean, my grandfather too passed away not even a decade yet hit before my dad passed. He passed away in 2016, I believe. I'm gonna have to look that one up. But you know, I remember my grandpa had, for cancer, a really more peaceful death, surrounded by family that loved him, and everyone was there. His kids, his stepkids, his grandchildren, his great-grandchild. I mean, he was someone who loved, the in-laws. He didn't care. He loved. That was his thing. And, it feels like we went 20 years without my Gramps, but we really haven't yet. I think I was like 12 or 11 when he passed away. So it hasn't hit 10 years yet. But it's coming up to there. And losing my dad almost 2 years now is really rough. And especially, too, I had a friend that was murdered that same year that my dad passed away. A really good friend of mine that was murdered. And, going through all these losses, and now my boss, someone that I admired and looked up to, and I will always have his words going through my head of stuff he told me and some of the advice he gave me. I work on a used car lot, essentially, for a dealership, a new and used car dealership, and essentially, he would tell me to think of the lot as a business. I'm not actually a business owner. I'm someone who's, assisting him in keeping everything organized out there so they can run the business and sell the stuff. I just have to keep up with the stuff. But essentially, how he goes and told me about the lot is you got to think about it as a business. How you arrange cars, how you handle the cars, prioritization. And it's, when you think about that, there really is a business aspect to it, to being out there. And he's given me a lot of good advice, because it's how I'll go through about thinking anything now, too, is about the business side of it. And, another thing, too, with my boss, I never seen a day where he didn't smile. I'm sure there were days where he didn't smile, but he always looked to a brighter side of life. And when he passed away, he told people that he wasn't afraid. He knew he was going to heaven. He wasn't afraid. And I know my dad was there with him and greeted him in. It's weird, because you think about it, we still cry over it, but it's like we never really do truly say goodbye. It hurts that they're gone, but they're still here. You just gotta look. It's the only thing I can say about it, is you gotta look. Keep an eye out. That person that you love is saying hi. That's kind of it for me. I just wanted to give you guys an update and then talk about my experience of saying goodbye. I felt like this was a really good way to get onto this topic again and back onto, kind of why I started this channel. A little update, if you made it to this far into the video, next week, exactly next week, May 4th, we're doing Charity Week. I'm so excited, guys. We're doing the Charity Week stream. I do this every year, the week of May 10th, in honor of my dad's passing. My dad went on May 10th, and I do a big main event stream on that day. The day it's always dreadful coming to it, but it makes it a little bit more exciting, because I'm continuing the fight for him, and continuing the fight to help others in their strong and painful battle. That's, I think, the most important gift of us who are able to go and give to those. So if you are interested in joining in for that, head to twitch.tv/Zenari05. The link is in my bio page. Check that out. Go there. Put it on your calendar. May 4th. I'm going to be going live every day throughout the week. I am making that a dedication. I have told Lily, I was like, I'm sorry, I love you, but I am streaming every day of the week. So I will be prioritizing that week. I don't normally do that. My streams are kind of guerrilla at this point. They're all over the place, like guerrilla warfare. it's fucking crazy. And I can't believe that this is my third time doing a charity stream. This is my second annual charity stream that we're doing. So I'm very excited for it, and it's going to be a very heartbreaking day. You're probably going to see me cry a lot. You'll see Lily on stream, Daniel, the whole fucking crew throughout the week. Apu, Snake. Hopefully we can get some other close friends of mine. Malachi, Scoodles, Itsy Bitsy RNA. Iso Loria, and a bunch of others. It should be a big week. And even then, I'm going to be talking to them throughout the week too and just chatting with them, even if they can't participate or help. But if you guys are able to, one, go around, go to Zanari's Castle Ground. That should also be linked in my bio. If not, I will make sure it's linked there. But go hit that link. Go check out that side. There's a channel trailer launching in 5 minutes, guys. Check that out. Be a part of that. Participate in that. And I love you guys so much. That's kind of it for me. If I think of anything else, I'll make sure to hop on and update you. Love you guys. Xander out.